Welcome back, everyone, to East Texas Now, where you're watching live local news all day long. I do have a very important and special guest today. Let's go ahead and bring her in. Our special guest, please welcome Miss Jennifer Burwell, the Stroke Program Manager at CHRISTUS Trinity Mother Frances. She's here to talk about stroke, as May is officially National Stroke Awareness Month, which is a time to raise awareness on one of the major health occurrences that our country sees. Nice to see you here.
Thanks so much for having me.
Of course, of course. It's always nice to talk to so many people about what's going on in our community, but this especially, it's something that needs to be talked about.
For sure. For sure.
So I'm going to go ahead and dive right in with some questions for you, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and start here. First off, tell me about stroke in general. Why people pay so much attention to it, and how can it impacts here in the United States? Kind of learn about it.
So 800,000 people a year have a stroke here in the United States. 600,000 of those are first-time stroke, and 200,000 are actually happening for a second or third time. So as much work as we've done, there continues still to be a problem. It's the 5th leading cause of death in the United States, but it's the leading cause of disability. So as much work as we've done, we still have tons of work to do.
So as technical or not as technical as you want to get, what exactly happens to the body when you are experiencing a stroke?
Yeah, so there's two different types of stroke. So the ischemic stroke is when you have a clot that gets lodged in a blood vessel, doesn't allow the blood and oxygen supply to get past that, and you have brain cells that die because it can't get the blood and oxygen that it needs. A hemorrhagic stroke is when you actually have a vessel that ruptures. It can either be from typically hypertension that causes a vessel to rupture, but it can also be from an aneurysm that we don't even know that we have that ruptures, causing bleeding in the brain.
Wow, that's scary.
Very scary.
And obviously we want to know how to spot a stroke. What are some tips you can give to recognize if you or someone might be having a stroke?
Yeah. So we typically think of be fast. This is kind of what the education that we use to make things easy, and it's easy to remember something like that. So when we think of B, that's the balance or dizziness, and a lot of times we'll hear patients describe this as they feel like they're drunk, even though obviously they're not. But it's dizziness, severe dizziness, like they feel the world spinning around them. And then we have E, that's eyes. This can be anything from blurry vision, double vision. They can feel like part of their world, they're not seeing all of it, so it's being cut off. And then we move into face. So you can have facial drooping, but you can also have like severe headache, especially with the hemorrhagic strokes. They will describe it as a thunderclap or the most severe headache of their life. And then we move into arms. But really it can be any limb, whether it be an arm or a leg. So you can have weakness. Some people will come in because they've dropped their morning coffee, or if they dropped the plate when they were trying to make breakfast. But it can also be that a leg gives out when they're walking. You can also have not just the weakness, but also sensory deficit, meaning that it feels numb or tingly, or like you've been asleep on it all night, when obviously you haven't because it's 12 o'clock in the afternoon. And then speech. Speech can look like a lot of things. It can be that they can't get words out at all, and they become obviously very, very frustrated because they know what they want to say and yet nothing's coming out. But it can also be what we call word salad, meaning words are coming out but they're not making sense, they're not being used in the correct context. Or it can be that the speech is slurred, what we call dysarthria. So it can be, their speech can be so slurred that you actually cannot understand them. And then we think of time. So time is crucial. Time is brain, is what we like to say. It's crucial to call 911, get to the hospital immediately. Don't go lay down and take a nap and think that it's going to subside. Go ahead and call 911 and come in and get checked out.
So, next, obviously, we know what we need to know about how to spot one, but tell us what happens at the hospital when someone comes in with a suspected stroke. What does an immediate treatment plan look like? Yeah,
so we actually have a code stroke team at the hospital that is at the door waiting for you to roll in by EMS. And that looks like an ER doc, a neurologist, myself, obviously. We hold that CT table ready to take you straight to the CT scanner. We have a team ready, including pharmacy, if we need to give you the thrombolytic medication. And then we're going to look and see with additional imaging, do you have a large clot that we actually need to go in and pull that clot out?
Wow.
And if so, we have a neuro IR team 24/7 available on site to go in and get that clot for you.
Wow. I mean, it seems like there's a lot of steps, but let's say you have had a stroke. What does recovery look like in short term or even in long?
Yeah, so actually therapy starts day one in the hospital. As soon as you're getting admitted, we have physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy to work with you. Now, speech can also mean cognition therapy as well. So all of those are on site every day. They start the therapy day one. So that's kind of in the short term, right? After that, we want to move you into an inpatient rehab, and that's intense rehabilitation, 3 hours a day to really work on all of those things, because our ultimate goal is to get you back home into your surrounding and environment so that you can be with your loved ones and finish your recovery at home.
Oh, of course, of course. And it might be more comfortable at home, but
Right.
Are there any people who are most likely to have a stroke rather than some who might not be as likely?
Yeah, so when we think about stroke, we typically think about older people, right? And when I say older, that's a loose term in my world, but 55 or older is what they say. But that's important to keep in mind, is that young people can have strokes too, right? I've seen strokes as young as 16 and 18 years old, so it's not unheard of. So I think that's important, even though high risk is 55 or older, but also African American populations, Hispanic populations, and then men are typically what we see the primary of strokes occurring in.
What is some advice that you would give to someone who may feel that they're in the danger zone to have a stroke?
So first and foremost, you have to know what your risk factors are, right? You have to know what you have that puts you at risk, whether that be hypertension, diabetes, atrial fibrillation, or even having a previous stroke. But it's also important, it's not just to know your risk factors, but to manage them actively. So go to the doctor, make sure you're keeping those yearly checkups so that they can keep tabs on the risk factors and making sure that you're hitting those target goals that they have set for you. And then I think it's just starting, like take one step. Prevention, 80% of these strokes are preventable. So take your own health into your own hands with the help of your physician to prevent your risk of stroke.
All right. Well, Jennifer, thank you so much for
Thank you.
teaching not only me, but everyone else too,
Thanks.
about, Stroke Month.
Thanks
I mean,
so much.
I think, yeah, it's definitely something that we need to be aware of and learn about. And, you wouldn't think about some of the things that we just talked about.
Right.
So,
Thanks so much for having us.
yeah, no, it was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.